certainly not official, but I believe the Mitchell Trubisky era is over in Chicago. What is going on, y'all? FaizSportsTalk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL here to talk about the Chicago Bears. So if you're a Bears fan and you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to go ahead and subscribe as I bring you guys the latest and greatest. You can expect videos every single day, certainly every single week. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. You know what to do, okay? So when you see the topic, we got to talk about it because I've got some news to break to you guys about this, okay? Because I've got some inclination of why I believe what I believe. So let's get into it. All right, so let me start with this, okay? Obviously, the biggest news that has come out so far from the offseason, which has just begun, by the way, is that Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are returning, right? We know about that now. I've given my thoughts about that. So that has been confirmed now. It's official. The Bears have announced it. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are coming back, at least for 2021. We don't know if it's for beyond that. I doubt it, but it is for 2021. Well, remember how I told you guys that if Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace come back, then Mitchell Trubisky might not, right? And if Mitchell Trubisky comes back, then Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace might not. And so, since we've already seen one thing happen, is the other one going to happen as well? And I believe it is, but the reason I'm bringing you guys this video right now is because as I was just scrolling on Twitter, by the way, follow me on Twitter, and just reading some like tweets, news, notes, etc., I saw this quote from George McCaskey. And I read the quote and I said, yep, Mitch is gone. Mitch is gone. And I'm going to read you the quote, what George McCaskey said. But folks, if you don't think after hearing this that Mitchell Trubisky's career in Chicago is over, I'm not sure what to tell you. So George McCaskey was doing an interview with, I believe, 670 The Score. And he was basically asked about Mitchell Trubisky, and this is what he said. And I quote, "He's an outstanding young man. His teammates love him. He works his butt off. He loves the game of football. He was an outstanding representative of the Chicago Bears." Keyword was, end quote. Well, that keyword part wasn't McCaskey. That was, you guys get the point, okay? But in this quote, what is the part that sticks out like a sore thumb? It is, he was an outstanding representative of the Chicago Bears. Was? Imagine Andy Reid talking about Patrick Mahomes in the offseason and saying, yeah, Mahomes was a good representative of the Chiefs. Like, what do you mean was? He is, right? He's a good representative of the Chiefs. Yeah, of course that's what they would say. But George McCaskey let the cat out of the bag. And again, maybe it's not the biggest, thing in the world in terms of news-wise because people figured it would happen, but this confirms it. Mitchell Trubisky's gone. It's over for Mitch in Chicago, all right? Obviously, his contract expires, so there's nothing the Bears need to do. They don't need to trade him. They don't need to do anything. They don't need to waive him. His contract's over. It's a wrap. And so George McCaskey himself said it. This quote pretty much confirms it. And so my theory, my analysis on, Pace, Nagy, and Mitch was, fairly accurate in the sense of, I told you, if Nagy and Pace stayed, then Mitch's chances were lowered, and vice versa. If Mitch had stayed, Nagy and Pace's chances were lowered. Because, folks, if you just think about it, how can you bring back the exact same core and expect anything different? It doesn't make any sense, right? And the McCaskies would get grilled for it. They're getting grilled for it right now, bringing back Pace and Nagy, but it doesn't make any sense. So Mitchell Trubisky, I believe it's over for him. So, again, the Mitch Trubisky era, I think in Chicago is over. I think it's just a matter of time before we hear that the Bears are not going to be, negotiating with Mitchell Trubisky, giving him a contract. Now, there was some, speculation talk about maybe Mitch can get a cheaper deal, like a 2-year, $15-20 million deal per year to come back, maybe. But it just feels like now they're done with it and they're going to look for another quarterback. And here's where I'm at, okay? You guys know I've been a huge fan of Mitchell Trubisky. I've never been blind to what Mitchell Trubisky is and isn't. I've never said Mitchell Trubisky's, an elite quarterback. All I've said is you can win with him if you, scheme the right system around him. And we've seen the success that the Bears have had when they do that. But as time has gone on with Mitchell Trubisky, I've come to this conclusion as well. Mitchell Trubisky did get, screwed in a way with Matt Nagy because of the fact that Matt Nagy was not a big fan of Mitchell Trubisky, I believe, and just did not put the right system around him. But also, in the same sentence, I do believe that Mitchell Trubisky didn't do enough as the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. So again, I always tell you guys this. Two things can both be true. Matt Nagy screwed Mitchell Trubisky, and Mitchell Trubisky did not hold up his end of the bargain. Okay, and here's why I say that about Mitch not holding up his end of the bargain. Folks, after a certain point, talent just shines. It just shines. And I've used the example of Deshaun Watson, who I want the Bears to get, by the way. Check out my videos on that. Deshaun Watson got the worst rap around him, right? A bad head coach / GM in Bill O'Brien. Didn't really have any weapons early on. Bad defense, bad offensive line. But he just made it work. And he was just literally lighting it up because the talent shines. See, Mitch is phenomenal in terms of, being a good soldier and being able to say and do the right things. But nobody cares until you do it on the football field. Now, if Mitchell Trubisky was, a bad guy, if you will, he was mean, he was whatever, and he was just an elite quarterback, like nobody would care as much, honestly. And the perfect example is a guy like a Kyrie Irving. If you've seen what Kyrie Irving is doing with the Brooklyn Nets, like Kyrie Irving just wakes up one day, he's like, yeah, I don't think I want to play today. And he just goes on a sabbatical, and the Nets are like, okay, well, all right, take your time, Kyrie, because it's Kyrie Irving. He's that damn talented. Now, there comes a point for any player in any league where, are you worth the talent you're bringing to the table? Kyrie Irving right now still, his talent's up here. The trouble he's worth is down here, right? Bringing to the table, they can deal with it. But we've seen guys before, Terrell Owens, Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco, where, okay, it catches up with you, right? The trouble you bring is not worth the talent. Antonio Brown, perfect example. So the thing is, talent is what shines and gives you chances. And with Mitchell Trubisky, the one thing, being a fan of Mitch, I can say without a sliver of doubt, he was given multiple chances. As many chances as you would give a quarterback, okay? We're talking about, 4 cracks at the starting job. And he just never ran away with it. And here's the other thing I need you guys to understand. And I've been telling myself this too. If and when Mitchell Trubisky, I shouldn't say if, when Mitchell Trubisky goes to another team and he does have success, let's say like a Ryan Tannehill type, I will not feel that bad as I thought I would, because I told you this. His talent did not shine enough in Chicago. If he goes somewhere else and he unlocks that potential, good for Mitch. I'll root for him. I'll always root for him. Big fan of him. But it just never showed up in Chicago. And so, like, you could say the same thing, right? Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. We've had high draft picks that turned out to be busts, right? And so with Mitchell Trubisky, he just never lived up to the hype. Now, he was not a bust in the sense of a Jamarcus Russell or anything like that. No, don't get me wrong. There's been way worse draft picks than Mitchell Trubisky. He was actually one of the most productive draft picks in terms of, what he was able to do, considering that he was a bust, right? Like, we're talking about a Pro Bowler, we're talking about a third in QBR, we're talking about helping win a division title. I think he's got some, Bears records. That might not be saying much, but in terms of Mitch, he just did not take enough advantage of the opportunities, and he just didn't perform. So I still blame Matt Nagy. I still blame the Bears. I still blame the environment around Mitch, on him not being able to reach his full potential here in Chicago. But I also blame Mitchell Trubisky, because when you have talent, talent shines. And you know what? Wherever Mitch goes, I wish him the best of luck. Let's see what happens. As always, guys, thanks for watching.